All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. I believe this is the third one on college campus, so slowly adjusting, but we're trying to pump out content as much as we can. Busy time right now for us, but bear with us. Let's get into this week 6 of college football, starting off with the AP poll. Ole Miss jumped 9 spots to number 4, which is the highest they've been ranked since 2009 after their win against LSU. Great win there for Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin and that whole program. Now the Big Ten holds both the number 1 and number 2 spot, with Oregon jumping to number 2 after their win in Penn State during the whiteout. Great game there, double OT thriller. Couldn't have asked for a much better game Saturday night. And then lastly, Alabama is now number 10 after their win at Georgia. That was also a great game. Last week had a lot of great games. The sports world in general didn't disappoint. You got the Ryder Cup. That Sunday was amazing. And then you got Saturday football, Sunday NFL, and along with a lot of playoff clinching games in baseball as well. So lots of sports going on last Saturday, this Saturday as well, with some more playoff baseball, some NFL, and college football as always. So let's turn the table to Alabama.
Yeah, I think some could say that Alabama's back in business. They went on the road and beat Georgia 24-21, which snapped Georgia's 33 home game win streak. Alabama played a great game. Ty Simpson had 276 yards on 2 touchdowns, no turnovers for the team, and only 4 penalties. I think we just really need to be talking about if this is what really needed to jumpstart the DeBoer era for Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's a little bit of an overreaction. They beat them last year, I believe, right? They had wins last year. I think Alabama beat Georgia last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Also had bad losses, though.
I know, but I feel like that's just like I feel like I hate to compare these two because they're not the same at all, but I think Georgia to Alabama is the same as like Penn State to Ohio State. They're always ranked good, but for some reason they give them a little trouble, but they never end up actually beating them. And I'm not comparing Kirby Smart to James Franklin because they're not even close. Kirby's way better, but I don't know. It just gives that vibe. I don't know why, but I think that's a little bit of an overreaction. I don't think it's that big of a win for Alabama as people think. Just like I don't think, yes, the Oregon win against Penn State, and we might touch on this later. I think it was a big win, but at the same time, I think they're number 2 only because they let that game get to overtime. If they would have let the score be where it was and finish, I think they would have a case for being number 1. But I think because they took it to overtime, they stayed number 2. I think just Georgia to Alabama is the same as Penn State to Ohio State or Penn State to Oregon. They're just, for some reason, they just can't beat them. Like you said, overreaction. I think it's an overreaction for the grand scheme of things and more than just this year, but I don't think it's an overreaction for this year. That was a crucial win for Alabama. Falling to 2 losses within 5 weeks of the season would not be great for any team that's trying to make the playoffs. I don't care that there's 12 teams now inside of it. And along with that, Alabama has a very tough schedule moving forward. I mean, the next 3 games alone are at 19 Missouri versus 15 Tennessee, and then at South Carolina, which South Carolina's fallen unranked. But
Don't forget about
ranked.
Vandy.
Yeah, sorry. That's after Vandy. So next 4 games, 3 out of the 4 are ranked opponents. But and then even after that, they have ranked opponents. So I do think it was a great win and a much-needed win for this season and to keep playoff hopes alive and also to kind of settle down the rowdy fans about DeBoer, even though I'm not so sure how that whole situation is going to work out. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it fixes your problems of having that disappointing season last year and struggling to start this season and losing to a Florida State team, which has looked better, but still isn't the best
lost
team.
to Virginia.
Exactly. So,
yeah, I don't think it's an overreaction at all on all levels. I think this Alabama team was headed towards a level like he said about Penn State, a team that was always going to be overhyped but never could win the big game. And I think this was I think this was monumental for Kalen DeBoer, to be quite honest with you. Ever since he's taken over, they never really have looked the same. Wouldn't expect them to if you lose Nick Saban, but I really think this was crucial for just the guys to see that all the that they're believing in is paying off, and this could be the jump start that they needed.
Yeah, so let's move into some of the games this Saturday.
3:30 slate, we've got Alabama hosting Vanderbilt. This is a game that I think people have anticipated ever since Vandy stormed the field last season against Alabama, which was honestly kind of the start of this whole Kalen DeBoer era struggles, if you guys remember that. But like I said, last year they met Vandy 140-35, and this year they're going to meet again. This time Alabama has tons of momentum after winning that game in Georgia. Like we said, it knocked out a 33 home game win streak by Georgia, which is huge, especially when you're going into an SEC environment. But Diego Pavia is playing great. Only has 3 interceptions through 5 games, 4 or 5 games. I'm not exactly sure, but 5 weeks, and also has 12 touchdowns if I saw that right. Vanderbilt does not have the toughest of schedules so far. They beat South Carolina on the road when they were ranked 10th at the time, and they beat them pretty handily, 31-7. However, the rest of the road is not easy. I said that for either teams. I mentioned Bama's next 3 games after this game, but Vandy's schedule after this game goes verse 13 LSU, then verse 19 Mizzou, and then has to travel to Texas, who is ranked 9th at the time. Although Texas hasn't done incredibly well so far, still going to be a great test with all 3 of those games. So what do you guys expect to see out of this matchup this weekend, and who do you got coming out on top?
Yeah, I think this is. I think this has some playoff implications. Vandy's undefeated right now, correct?
Yep.
You get a Vandy team come late December or late November, who is undefeated and plays in the SEC championship, or even if they beat Alabama and then lose a game down the road, they're what would that be, 11-1. They could still potentially be in the SEC championship. I feel like that's hard to take them out of the playoffs if they lose in the SEC championship game. And if they beat Alabama, I think they're pretty much, as long as they only lose 1 game from here on out after Alabama, I think they're a lock for the playoffs, especially being at Alabama. Same goes for Alabama. If they lose this game, I think it's over for them. I think if they lose to Vandy, there's no chance they make it to the SEC championship game. And so to have a 2-loss team, 10-2 loss team, not playing in the SEC championship game, I think that'd be hard to keep them in. So I think this game has a lot of playoff implications, but it'll be interesting how Kalen DeBoer rallies his troops for this game after a big Georgia win. But I think I want Vanderbilt to win. It'd be fun to see Vanderbilt win and be like a Boise State last year. But I think Alabama wins.
So I'm going to have to disagree. I don't think this has – I mean, it has playoff implications, but I don't think that Alabama gets knocked out if they lose this game. They have so many ranked opponents coming up. I could definitely see them sneak it in to the 12-team playoff if they win out after this game. I mean, in the next 3 games alone, they have 2 out of 3 ranked opponents, and I know further down the road they've got more. Just being in the SEC, you're going to have those amount and those volume of ranked games. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, I think they need to win this game. I don't think they can outstand or outlast their schedule, the gauntlet of the schedule they're going to be put through, unless they are truly a good team, which I don't think they are. And so I do think for the SEC championship, it's a must-win for both teams. Although we have seen multiple teams already lose 1 game in the SEC. Thankfully, Alabama's 1 loss isn't in the SEC, so that helps them out for the SEC championship. Georgia lost their one SEC game. Texas is still undefeated in the SEC, although losing to OSU, and now LSU's got a loss in the SEC. So there's still hope for both teams, honestly, even after this game, to get in the SEC. They're just going to – it's not season ending if they lose this game, but it's going to be pretty close, and they're going to have to play some pretty good football to get where their goals are.
Yeah, I kind of think it's a must-win for Bama just because of the fact that you don't want to put yourselves against the wall this early in the season with 2 losses, one coming at home. I believe the one against FSU was on the road. You don't want to have 2 losses, 1 at home, especially to Vanderbilt, and then coming off of a loss to have to play the teams you mentioned earlier. I don't think it'll end well for this Bama team, and you never know. They might make it. They might make it to the SEC championship, but you definitely don't want to have to rely on doing that. Obviously, it's great, but I see Bama coming out of it just because it's at home. If this was last year's matchup, I could definitely see Vandy winning again. I think you got to give some credit to Pavia for how he's been playing. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be one of the guys that is pretty good in college, decent to pretty good, but just won't make it in the NFL just because of his height and stuff. But yeah, I think it'll be a nice game to watch. I do ultimately think Bama's going to take care of business.
Yeah, I forgot to answer the prediction. I agree. I think Bama's going to take care of business. I'll be shocked, highly shocked actually, if Vanderbilt gets away with this win,
especially after their Georgia win.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Going into this game, Alabama just came off a win versus Georgia. Not to mention it's in Bama, so the odds of Vanderbilt going in here and coming out with a win is very slim. So if that were to happen, I think Vanderbilt should and will be ranked as a top 10 team. Just the odds of that happening are very slim.
I think Bama will be on edge too because they just lost to these guys last year. I think if this was just a new Vandy team and they didn't lose to these guys last year, honestly I think that would increase their chances of upsetting. But I think the fans, the players, the coaches, and all of Alabama is going to be on edge this whole week and get revenge on these guys.
Completely agree. Let's move on to the primetime game this Saturday. We got Miami at Florida State. Highly anticipated matchup. I would guess, without even looking at social media, this is where I was going to say this is where College Game Day is going to be, but they were just in Miami, I'm pretty sure. Or, sorry, they were the week before. They were just in Penn State. So they could go back to Miami. Anyhow, Miami's 4-0. Florida State's 3-1. Florida State got that win against Alabama week 1, but they just suffered a loss to Virginia. If you didn't see that court storming, that was crazy. Field storming. Yeah, right away, without hesitation.
Guy didn't even have time to blow his whistle.
Nope. Miami is 4-0. They beat Clemson, who once again just looks like a worse and worse team every week. But they are 4-0 and they're ranked 3rd. Not to mention they beat did they beat anybody else really good, or am I blanking?
I mean, they beat Georgia Tech.
Okay.
Notre Dame.
Notre
First game
Dame,
of the
that's
season.
right, Notre Dame.
And South Florida when
There
they
we
were
go.
good.
So they do have some great. Sorry, I misspoke about the Clemson game. They probably did not play Clemson.
They did not play Clemson.
So sorry about that. But I'm just going to say this to start. I'll let you guys take over. But I think this is a must-win for Florida State. I haven't looked too deep in their schedule, but I can't imagine they have many more ranked opponents coming up. With this being at home, if they were to lose, they're going to be pretty close to getting knocked out of the top 25, I would say. And it just kind of depends on how they lose. So I do think this is a must-win for Florida State.
I would agree. I think it's definitely a must-win for Florida State.
100%.
They won't be making the ACC if they go 2 losses. They won't be making the college football playoff most likely if they have 2 losses. At the same time, I think we're getting into the part of the year where every game has playoff or postseason implications.
Which is crazy to say because when we were moving on to this 12-team playoff, everyone's like, oh, these games aren't going to matter.
I think the 12-team makes it more.
I would agree, especially for a team like Florida State. I mean, if we're sitting here 3 years ago with a 4-team playoff, Florida State's not even thinking about
Florida State's already out.
A playoff appearance.
But I think Miami takes care of business. They've been honestly, I didn't think Miami would be all that good this year. They've had some decent wins. Carson Beck's been solid.
Impressive, in fact.
Yeah.
Shocking.
So, and Cristobal's been doing good finally. So,
shocking.
Good to have the Canes back in college football.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. I do think this is a must-win for FSU. I think this is a win or go home. Both teams. I was just looking at their schedule. Both teams don't really have a ranked opponent as of right now on their schedule,
Which is expected in the ACC.
Yeah, both teams already played their heavy part. Miami's done their job to this point. I think they can easily lose this game and coast to the college football playoffs. That cannot be said about FSU. They need to have this game. FSU won the game they needed early on and then lost the game they also needed. So if we were looking at this and they were both 4-0, wouldn't matter. One team could lose and they'd still get in. But, yeah, FSU needs to win. And I think it ultimately just comes down to is Castellanos going to play good. He's got almost as many interceptions as he does passing touchdowns with 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So we got to limit those turnovers if you're him. And then you got to just make a play when the time comes. In a game like this, we know it's going to come down to play here or there, and it's really just going to be who executes.
Yeah, I will say Carson's Beck has shocked me this year. I
think he shocked everybody.
I would have to agree with that. I'm sure I'm with a lot of people here. Just the way his season ended, although we did see him going down in an injury versus Texas, he didn't play well late into that season. And moving to Miami, I didn't think he was going to play well here. I didn't think Miami was going to be great at all after losing Cam Ward, who is really their pride and joy, and Restrepo. So the 1-2 punch there. But I got to applaud them. They're doing great down there in Miami. Also, Florida State, didn't expect them to do well, but I also didn't really look into them much, and I didn't know about this Castellanos guy, who is a great dual threat quarterback. I would like to see him do a little more in the air. However, I do think Miami is going to win this game just because, well, hold on now. Florida State is coming off of a very upsetting win.
Could go the other way.
So I could see a lot of motivation being in Florida State. I'm going to flip my pick. Give me Florida State. Give me 21-21 or 24-21. Give me a buzzer-beating field storming by Florida State.
Sure.
What do you got?
Oh, I gotta stay with the U. I don't know. It feels like the script is going for the U. Not saying the college football script. I just think there's no way the U loses.
Yeah, looking at their scores, I think Miami's just battle tested already. I think they know what it takes already in this season to win a game like this, and I just don't think Florida State has the firepower on both ends of the ball for 4 quarters to hang with these guys. Obviously, they're a great football team, but I just don't see them making the plays they need to for 4 quarters. So I'm going to have to take Miami.
There we go. All right, well, that is all we have for you guys. Another great week of college football. Although we only covered 2 matchups, there's still a lot of good matchups out there, just not high-ranked matchups. However, going to be a great weekend. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys go subscribe. Help us get to the 1K mark. We are closely there. We're closing in, and we appreciate all your support. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.